Hi guys, and welcome back to Off the Shelf. It sounds so bittersweet to say it. It's not our last episode, it's just the last episode of season 1, which is kind of crazy to say. This is our 15th episode, which feels like just the beginning and feels like we're just starting, but it also feels like we've done so much in 15 episodes. Like, I've had all of my bookworm friends on. I have stepped outside of my own comfort zone and talked about myself, and then I had 3 of my favorite authors in the entire world, Lauren Roberts, Carly Fortune, and Abby Jimenez. Like that, if you told myself even just 2 years ago, she would not believe you. One, she would not believe that I even had a podcast. The idea of having a podcast has been floated around alongside me and my team for years. And I was always no, I don't think I will be good at it. And I was very I was self-doubting myself because I was I don't know if I can talk for that long, especially by myself, with all these cameras. I was very hesitant to do it. And then about a year ago, or maybe even 8 months ago, I was I'm ready. I want to do this. I was this is just a little bit of lore, and then we're going to actually get into the actual episode itself. But I was speaking on panels, and I was interviewing authors, and I fell in love with talking about books and the adaptations around it and what I was reading. And it just allowed me to talk about what I was reading and so many other things in the bookish world on a whole new level. It allowed me to talk for an hour with my friends and authors, and it's just been incredible. So thank you all for being here, whether you've listened since episode 1 or this 15th episode is the first one you were clicking on. I am so grateful to have you here listening to me yap and chat. And we're taking a little break for the summer only because this was not a trial run, but I'd never done a podcast before. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm still figuring it out. So we are going to take the summer to kind of regroup and strategize, and then we are going to probably come back in September. We don't have a set date, but any updates, and we're still posting content throughout the summer on our social channels. We are at offtheshelf.podcast on Instagram and TikTok. So we will post best moments over there over the season, and updates on when season 2 is coming back, because we are coming back, and I'm super excited for that. And again, I'm so grateful to have you all here. So let's just get into the episode now. Technically, this is supposed to be our book club episode, but since it's the last episode of the season and we're filming this a bit earlier, I didn't want to just end it off on a book club episode. So this episode is going to be my favorite summer books, the books that I think you all need to go read this summer. And then I'm also going to talk about books that I'm excited to read this summer, whether or not they're summer releases or just the books that I have delayed picking up off my shelf. So let's just get into it. The first one, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here because I have talked about this book. I've talked about this book with the author herself, but my number 1 summer book recommendation this year is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, because this book is the book is sitting on a dock with friends. It's having s'mores by the campfire. It is getting bitten by mosquitoes by the lake. This book just hit home, and I didn't even go up north. I didn't go to the cottage that much growing up, and this book made me feel like I did, and it made me think about a home up north that I don't even have. For those who don't know anything about this book, One Golden Summer is Carly Fortune's most recent book. It just came out this May. It's technically not a series at all, but it does have some characters that appeared in her first novel, Every Summer After, which came out a couple years ago and kind of allowed her to blow up as an author because it was such an incredible book. But basically, One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune follows Alice. She's a photographer. She took a photo of these kids at the lake when she was 17, and I'm pretty sure it became the first photo that she ever sold. It has a lot of memory and nostalgia and impact for her, because even growing up, she was a very shy kid, and she never went over to those kids to introduce herself or to say hi or anything like that. So anyways, she loves this photo, and she had always wanted to meet the people in the photo. So fast forward 15, 20 years, and her grandmother go back up to the cottage that they were staying at when she was younger, and she meets one of the guys in the photo. And that's kind of like, if you don't already, like, I think majority of people might know already about this book, and if not, like, you have to like go put yourself in the Carly Fortune lore. My recommendation is to read Every Summer After before you read One Golden Summer, because it gives you like a very basic, like, I mean, I just think honestly for the vibes you should do it, because Percy and Sam are the love interests in Every Summer After, and Charlie in One Golden Summer is Sam's brother. So you kind of have like the interconnected couples there. And what I will say about One Golden Summer, I wanted to go into this book being a Charlie hater, because there are some actions that he does in Every Summer After where I was just like, I actually don't think I can look past this. I don't think, in my heart of hearts, like, I loved Every Summer After, but Charlie, I was just like, I don't think I like you, man. So I went into Golden Summer like knowing I was going to love the vibe and everything but Charlie. And it took all of like 4 chapters for me to be like, never mind, I like him. He's kind of like, I don't know if I mentioned this on here before, he's like a fuckboy, but not at the same time. Like, he gives those vibes, but he's not fucking around, if that makes sense. Like, he is like a fuckboy in a teddy bear costume, basically. That's how I would say it. And the book is just incredible. So that's like my number 1 summer rec for you, everyone, to read this year. Number 2 is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I know I said this wasn't a book club episode, but I couldn't not mention our June book club, which is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Guys, I would like to take this time to officially apologize to everyone in my life who has ever recommended a Taylor Jenkins Reid book and I didn't immediately pick it up, because reading Atmosphere has transcended my entire reading taste, because I know I will never read anything like her books ever again. And now I honestly like want to savor reading all of her books. Like, I want to go in and binge all of them, but I can't. For the sake of like good books in this world, I had to take my time with it. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid is my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book ever. And I think I was drawn to it because of the astronomy aspect. And I'm astronomy, not astrology. I'm so sorry. There are sometimes like I don't want this to come across as rude in the slightest. But if someone comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, you're such a blank," like I don't know, Gemini, you're such a, I don't know what it means. And I don't care. Astrology has never hit with me. So, I mean, although I love Zodiac Academy and that's very astrology based, I just don't have enough astrology knowledge to ever be present in a conversation about it. And I also am very much in the realm of the, like, your astrology sign is just the day you were born, and that is it. And no one had any control over it, and it doesn't impact who you are as a person. Sorry. Had to just clear the air there a little bit. To go back to Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, this is a historical fiction novel. It's also one of the first historical fiction novels that I have ever read, I think. I really, really want to dive into the genre, though, because I really, really like it. But it takes place between 1980 and 1984. This group of 6 or 7 astronauts, and it starts in the book actually starts in 1984, but to set the scene a little bit, it follows these astronauts, and they are technically they're training to become astronauts at NASA. There's like 3 girls and maybe 4 or 5 guys. It's very much in a time where like women are not astronauts. So the way that this book is written is so impactful without knowing anything about like societal issues at the time. Like, Taylor Jenkins Reid does such a good job of like having an impact on you and like what was going on in like the 1980s. So the book goes back and forth between them training to be astronauts and go up into space. And then it also rotates between 1984, which is when some of the astronauts are up in space and they are experiencing like trouble and a problem and an issue up there. So it definitely like gets the heart racing, because in 1984, like you are dealing with like a crisis up in space, and the I guess like the pastime is a little bit more of like building who these characters are. And I don't dislike a single one of these characters. The way that she writes these real and raw and unique characters where like technically they could be considered unlikable. Like, they're unlikable like sometimes between each other, but as the reader, I like just accept all of them for who they are and how beautiful they are written. There's also a bit of romance in it. I feel like I've just gone on a very large tangent about this book, but as someone who has never read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book before, like I feel like I'm just like stepping into this like whole new world. There's a little bit of romance in it between Joan and Vanessa. I don't think that's a spoiler because it says a love story on the front and it's not. But in my newsletter, I originally called their romance like a slow burn. And that just seems like not so demeaning towards it, but it's not it's a beautiful love story between these two. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, but it's also so sad because of the like societal pressures for only men and women to get married in the 80s. And it's just heartbreaking that these were the conditions that people had lived in the 1980s and honestly still deal with today. I'm very much in the mind, like love is love. And I mean, I'm going to end it there. And it's just the two of them having to like hide their relationship and hide their connection in public. And granted, anyway, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just, I don't know. The book is so incredible. And it just like, I don't know, it doesn't really take place in summer. It takes place like over the span of 4 years. But it's just a very like impactful book that I'm really enjoying reading right now. I'm only about like 66% through. By the time this episode comes out, I will be done. The final review will be over on the Substack. It's just such an incredible novel. So that's number 2 on the list. Third book that I think everyone should read this summer, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I'm purposely, like, I didn't mean to include books of the authors that came on here, but they're great summer books. So Just for the Summer came out last year. This is not Abby Jimenez's most recent book. Her most recent one is Say You'll Remember Me, which I liked, but Just for the Summer is definitely probably like my second favorite. It's got summer in the title. It is about these two people who have had really bad luck in the like dating world. If I'm not mistaken, they like anytime they date someone and then they break up and then that person will like go and find their next soulmate. So one of them put up their like whole story on Reddit and the other one saw and they were like, let's just like date each other platonically. And then the curse will be broken of like the dating and then we can go find our person after it. And obviously because this is a cheesy little rom-com, they end up falling in love with each other. But this book is so much deeper. And I mean, if you've read an Abby Jimenez book, you know that her books are so much deeper and they deal with so many different things, real life issues, and they're real characters. And this book was just like the summer vibes in it were so good. There's also a really great quote in it about how, I strongly recommend going to listen to Abby and I's episode as well, that talks about how she crafted this quote. And it talks about how love and romance is not like candlelit dinners and it's not rose petals. It's like in the folds of everyday life. So when Abby came on and we were talking about it, she was talking about how she came up with this quote while her husband was bagging groceries. And she quickly like pulled out her phone because if you recall, she writes all of her books on her phone. And she wrote this quote in this scene about how like you don't have to do these grand gestures to show that you love someone. Like something as simple as bagging the groceries or carrying like the heavier bag for just the little things in life is what matters. And I think this book really hammered that point home. And it made me, I meant to say this about Atmosphere as well, but these two books like made me really love. One Golden Summer is great for like the summery cottage vibes. I obviously still like the romance, but it was more the vibes that I'm recommending it for summer. Atmosphere and Just for the Summer made me like fall in love with love. And I'm hoping that will be the case for Just for the Summer. And people might be thinking, yours truly is my favorite Abby Jimenez book, but it doesn't really give me summer vibes. It truthfully gives me like winter vibes. I don't know why. I don't think it even takes place in the winter, but they're doctors and it's like in a hospital environment, and a hospital environment just gives me like a little bit colder vibes. So Just for the Summer is my Abby Jimenez rec this year. Number 4 on my summer reading list, or your summer reading list, Heartless by Elsie Silver. I thought about this on the drive over here. I don't know if I've ever talked by myself about Elsie Silver and her books. I need her to come on the podcast. We've done like a virtual, if I'm not mistaken, we've done a virtual interview. I'm manifesting it. I'm putting it out in the universe. I would love Elsie Silver to come on this podcast because I adore her books more than anything. They're also set in Canada, which is great. Heartless is my summer recommendation. 1, because it just like gives a summer vibe. 2, it's also my favorite book of all hers. 3, it's my favorite single dad romance. If you've never read a single dad romance, Heartless by Elsie Silver needs to be the first one that you read, but you also need to go into it knowing that no other single dad romance will ever compare. So do with that what you will. Heartless is the second book in an interconnected series by Elsie Silver, her Chestnut Spring series, which is now completed. There's 5 books. Heartless is my favorite because it's a single dad, and the characters, again, just like give a very real romance to it. So the synopsis basically, if I recall it correctly, is Willa and Cade. And Cade is the single dad. He has a younger son, and he hires Willa to be like the nanny / babysitter. And that's all I'm giving you because I think that's all you need to be like convinced to go read this book. I recently had my friend Paige buy it. We have been in it. We were just in London, which I don't know if I've talked about on here, but London, incredible. Went to every bookstore imaginable, came home with 19 books. So definitely a success. But she bought Heartless while we were there. And what I told her was like, for Heartless, you just need to read that first chapter. If you don't like that first chapter, don't read the book. You're not going to vibe with it. But I knew in my heart of hearts that she would read that first chapter and be like, I'm canceling my plans for the rest of the day and I don't want to spoil it because I want everyone to go experience this chapter for the first time. If you read it, you know what I am talking about. But there's a scene in a coffee shop between the two of them, and they're already like a little bit interconnected in who they're friends with and who they know. And they have like a little interaction in the coffee shop, and the interaction is the epitome of who Willa is and what she does. And she's genuinely one of my favorite FMCs. If you've read Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone, which was our May book club pick, Lenny in that book and Willa are very similar characters. They border on the side of quirky, but they're more just like, what's a good way to describe them? They just like don't care what other people think, I guess. They just live their life for them, and their personalities are just like so admirable, I guess. And Heartless, just like, I don't know, the single dad vibe. And that would have been the first single dad romance that I had ever read and changed my life forever. And it obviously takes place in the summer because it takes place in like a fictional town in Alberta or British Columbia. I'm not 100% certain. And if you like that one, then go read Wild Love by Elsie Silver, because whatever that series is called, because Chestnut Springs is done, those 5 books, this new series that she has is all single dads. And while they don't compare to Heartless, they are very good and they are very fun. Book number 5 on summer reading list is a little bit of an outlier. It is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And I have a hard time describing this book because it's very complex in the sense where it follows a young girl, Kaya, and her journey of like growing up and being a little bit isolated in the world and in her family and in society. As the youngest, she sees a lot more and she's a little bit forgotten in her family. And as she's growing up, so the book rotates between like her growing up and the present. And as she grows up, like she sees her parents leave and all her siblings go off, and she has like one childhood friend. And then in the present day, she's very like isolated from society. She lives a little bit off the grid. She's known as the marsh girl to everyone in, I guess, modern society. And then there comes a time in her life when she wants to like experience love, and she wants to live life a little bit like, I guess, in the grid. She starts like going into town more, and living. And there's like, I don't want to call it a love triangle because it's not a love triangle. I don't like love triangles. I kind of refuse to read them. But there are two guys. There is her childhood friend that she like grew up with, and then there is the like town golden boy. And then all of a sudden the town golden boy gets murdered, and she is the prime suspect because she was the last one seen with him or like something. And it was just like it's very easy to point fingers at her, because she's the outsider. So the book then rotates between like her growing up and then the murder trial in present day. And it took me a little bit to get into this book, I'm not gonna lie, because when it starts, we're very much like getting the backstory to who she is as a person. And there's just like a lot of world building, although like it's not fantasy world building, it's like world building. And it wasn't losing me, but I just like wasn't sucked in yet. And then we kind of got to the present day of her like defending herself in this trial, saying like I would never kill somebody. And the like law political aspect of it kind of sucked me in. And then you get to the end and you realize you like it's so the ending made this book for me. Like I gave it 5 stars because of the ending. And it's something that you would never expect, but it's the most perfect, satisfying, content ending I've ever had in a book, I would say. And I think the movie also did a good job on the ending. I mean, reading is just like a totally different experience that I think everyone, I mean, I'm always in the boat that everyone should read the book first, but that's just me. Although people do have like differing opinions on the movie, me personally, love the movie. What I've heard from other people is they were upset about the casting, which like is a wild statement because I love Daisy Edgar Jones, even though I have not seen Normal People. I'm sorry, it is on the list. But Kaya in the book is described as this like mousy, not pretty marsh girl. And then Daisy Edgar Jones got casted and they were like, well, she's too pretty for the role. Anyways, I fully support it. The thing is, I also like had seen the trailer before reading the book. I'm almost positive. So I already had like the pictures of the characters in my mind when I was reading the book. But at the end of the day, this is such a good, if you're looking for like, it's not romance with substance. If you're just looking for a damn good book to read this summer, I would say this is the one to pick up. And then, yeah, enjoy the ending. Because I think I read it alone and I just like needed people to talk about it with. But I think my mom was the one who recommended it to me. It's just, incredible, incredible, incredible book. Number 6 on the list is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. And I want to say this is like an Elle Kennedy hidden gem, but technically it's not because it's not hidden. It's just like not as popular from what I've seen as like the off-campus series, but I sometimes love it just as much, because I felt like I connected with the main girl from what I remember. I read this like 3 years ago, but I went through my Goodreads like prior to recording this episode and I was like, okay, like what are my favorite summer reads? Because I have so many different shelves on Goodreads. Like, I was like a Goodreads fanatic in 2017 and I made all these shelves and now I have like 70 Goodreads shelves with like 2 books on them because I would separate it by trope of like, what did I used to do? I don't know. Like I think I used to do like summer romances, but I found this one in my like shelf of fame books because I just love this book so much, but I haven't actually continued the series. So I would like to do that because I'm almost positive it's interconnected. But from what I remember of Good Girl Complex, it follows a girl, Mac, and she comes from a very rich, privileged family, has never really like lived life. And then for the summer, she moves to Avalon Bay. I think that's what the series is called, Avalon Bay something. She moves to Avalon Bay and realized like the world that she grew up in is like not the world that everyone else grows up in. I'm not connecting to that part, okay? I'm not saying I'm like, that sounds bad. What I connected to is that she was a bit of a people pleaser and had trouble like putting her own wants and needs before others and was just like trying to be this person that she wasn't. And I think at the time of reading this book a couple years ago, it just like really hit. And it was also just like very light and fluffy. It was a very light and fluffy way of communicating that to readers, I think. And then she meets, like, once she moves to Avalon Bay, she meets, like, the town bad boy, which is such a cliche trope. But again, like, these characters have a lot of depth to them, and their connection for a new adult rom-com, I quite loved. And I don't know, like, it just really hits as a summer romance. Number 7, and technically number 8 on this list, but I put them as one, is Happy Place and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Gonna sound like a broken record. I've talked about these books. I will continue to talk about these books. These are my favorite Emily Henry books, but they're also like the ones that feel like summer. And I'm not going to get into them. I did a whole Emily Henry episode a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure which one, but you can easily go find it since we only have 15 episodes. But they're genuinely two of the greatest romance books I have ever read. Although People We Meet on Vacation is like a little bit more of like a vacation vibe, technically could be read like anytime during the year. It's just like a very summery read. It has a beautiful orange cover, and the movie is coming out soon. I'm not 100% sure when the movie is coming out. I heard rumors the other day that like the soundtrack for it was released and they were playing one song, but I didn't know the song, so I didn't feel like a really great connection to it. But that comes out later this year, if I'm not mistaken. I heard they like tested it in theaters in LA a couple months ago. My friend sent me that and was like, should we go to LA? And I honestly would if the timing worked out, because this is one of my favorite books. And it also has Tom Blythe and Emily Bader, which if you don't know, if those names don't click in your brain, Tom Blythe played, can never pronounce his name, but Snow from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Emily Bader was the protagonist in My Lady Jane, which is still it's devastating that show was canceled, but I'm gonna go read those books. Anyways, I got off track. What were we even talking? People Meet on Vacation, great vacation summer read. Happy Place is like the epitome of a really good summer read. It's definitely more of a tearjerker. Like, I didn't cry during People We Meet on Vacation. If you're looking for something to hit you in the chest a little bit more. And I gotta stop talking about these books because I did a full episode on them, but Happy Place really hit. And I think it'll hit for those who have like recently graduated from school in the last couple of years or recently, because it talks a lot about like how hard it is to maintain friendships when you don't work together and you don't go to school together, because there is not much tying you together and people are busy. And it was just like, they were both very, very beautiful books. So those were the 7/8 books on what I think should be everyone's summer TBR this year. Also, how was it? End of June. I guess when this episode comes out, it'll be June 26th. And then my birthday is June 28th, which is 2 days later, which this will be the only place I am stating that's my birthday, because I never post about it. The only time people would ever know is because it's on famous birthdays, which I regret doing, but I don't think you can take it off. Anyways, I just like, yeah, my birthday, I just like get weird on it, I think, with a lot of other people. But end of June, wild. These are the 5 books I'm basically force feeding myself this summer. I'm reading them. I have all the physical copies. I'm gonna put them on my desk so I look at them every day. So I peer pressure myself into reading them. With the number one but number one on this list is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood, although I don't love like every single one of her books, she is an auto-buy author for me. I DNF'd Deep End. That was the only one I had to DNF. I will eventually go back to it. But Problematic Summer Romance, I know nothing about it. I bought it for £3 at the Works in London. And I heard it's an age gap romance. So that's pretty much all I needed to hear to pick it up. I'm hoping the age gap is not like crazy, crazy bad. These days, I'm not like getting icked out by an age gap, but I'm definitely a little bit more conscious of it. I would say, like, I know last week or 2 weeks ago, Carter and I talked about Rivals, and we were talking about that age gap. And although it's like not confirmed, she's 20 in the show and he's like over 40. So that's a little bit bigger, little bit more than I would like. But I'm pretty sure in Problematic Summer Romance, if I'm not mistaken, I remember hearing something about the girl being 23 and the guy being 39. Not the worst, not the absolute worst. I'm excited to read that one. That has the word summer right in it. Another one that I really want to read is The Summer of Broken Rules. I'm blanking on the author right now, but this is a book, like the cover is stunning. It'll be on screen for those who are watching. The synopsis, from what I remember, is they play assassin, which is not something that we, from what I know, I've seen these videos on TikTok of these high school students playing assassin where you're like assigned a target and you have a water gun and you have to go and shoot the target. That is not something that takes place in Canada. I don't think. I've never heard of anyone doing that, nor did I do that in school, but I'm fascinated by these videos that I see on TikTok. So from what I understand, the premise of The Summer of Broken Rules is it's like they do it before a wedding as like not a bachelor or bachelorette party, but as something. And anyways, freshly broken up with her like long-term boyfriend, the female protagonist in this novel has like her assassin, or like the person that she has to shoot with a water gun is like a cute groomsman. And I'm almost positive it's also a YA book. I just like think it looks so light and fluffy and fun. And I want to learn more about this assassin game, I think. Third book on my summer TBR, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know I just went on a whole tangent about Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I feel like, I don't know, someone told me recently the correct like reading order on how you should read Taylor Jenkins Reid. So maybe I should have gone back and consulted that before I just made this bold claim about wanting to read Malibu Rising this summer. But I feel like Malibu Rising is like her summer romance book, or like not, I don't even know if it's romance, but her like summer book, because the cover is like blue and it's talking about Malibu Rising, whatever that means. But damn, I wish I remembered the actual reading order of Taylor Jenkins Reid, because from what I have heard about her books is that since they all somewhat appear in the same timeline, like Seven Husbands and Carrie Soto is Back and Daisy Jones, like some characters will make appearances in the other books, which is not like a maker, like I don't know. I think it's fun. I won't like specifically read that order. I'm going to read based on like the vibe or my mood, or like not what tropes, but what plot I'm in the mood for. Anyways, but Malibu Rising is on my summer list. Whether or not that gets read before or after all of her other books. I also bought One True Loves recently. I have to read that one too. Although I think I've already predicted the ending. I'm not sure. Number 4 on my list is Till Summer Do Us Part by Morgann Quinn. Morgann Quinn, an immediate auto by author. If you have not read her Billionaire series or her Vancouver Agitator series, I'm going to need you to pause this episode and go read them. Just kidding. Do watch till the end. But Morgann Quinn, this might be a bold claim. Morgann Quinn is the only romance author who can write a romance novel that is more than 500 pages, and I will happily read the entire thing without a single dull moment. I don't know what it is. I've like screamed from the top of the hills, top of the rooftops, however that saying is. I realize now, having a podcast, I say so many of these sayings and I'm not actually sure if they are the correct saying. But I have like said time and time again that I don't think romance books should be over like 350, maybe 400 pages, because I feel like there's like not much you can include in there without it like dragging on forever. Morgann Quinn, don't know what this lady puts in her books, but I devour every single one of them and I love them. So the Billionaire series, I know we're talking about my summer romance reads, but Billionaire series is a trilogy between 3 brothers who are all billionaires and like find their wives. And then what's the other one? Vancouver Agitator series is a group of 5 hockey players who are all best friends and then in turn like find the love of their lives. And they're such light and fluffy. Some of them have like a little bit of, I can't even say darker tones. Some of them aren't super, super light and fluffy, but for the majority of all of those books, they're such good, feel-good romances of green flag men, which we love. So since Morgann Quinn is like an auto by author, sometimes I don't even read the synopsis. I just like go in blind. And I think from what I remember, Till Summer Do Us Part is a standalone. I'm just going to jump in there. And I'm pretty sure it's already out, or it comes out in early. I think it's definitely already out. So number 5 on my list, which I have talked about on this podcast. I hear about it from Mark. hear about it from my mom, hear about it from my dad now because he just read it, which is The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. This is one of Mark's favorite authors, one of my mom's favorite authors. When they met for the first time, they were also talking about it. This is okay, so a little bit of backstory. My family and I are going to the Nantucket, Cape Cod, Boston region this summer because it's my mom's 50th birthday. She will hate that I included that in this podcast, and she will absolutely listen to it. But that's what we're doing this summer because my mom loves Ellen Hildebrand's books so much and has always wanted to visit Nantucket. So for her 50th birthday, we were like, okay, we're doing it. So that is what we were doing this summer. So my parents were like, okay, we're bringing you with us, but you have to read one of these Ellen Hildebrand books before you go. So the chosen Ellen Hildebrand book is The Hotel Nantucket, which was recommended by Mark, who has now been on the podcast twice, as like a good introduction. And also as like a good, because I don't want to do cheating, and 28 Summers was the other one that was recommended, and that is like the epitome of the cheating trope. So I think the Hotel Nantucket, I gotta stop saying that, is like a good place to start on that front. So I'm excited to do that. And that's pretty much all that's like on my summer romance reads. Last thing I want to do in this episode, because I already have my list of 4, I also am going to look at Goodreads. I know, I'm so sorry I'm still using Goodreads, but I wanted to see if I missed any other releases. Okay, June releases. Technically, it's going to be June. Oh, I'm really excited for Sounds Like Love by Ashley Boston. I just got an arc of that, so maybe I will read that this weekend because I think that comes out next Tuesday. That'll be good. I'm not recognizing actually any of these other releases for Caught Up by Navessa Allen is another book that I really want to read. This is the sequel to Lights Out by Navessa Allen, which was that like golden retriever stalker book. If you recall from like the second episode we did here, I was talking about that with my friends. If you want like to dip your toes into a little bit of dark romance, Lights Out by Navessa Allen is a very good place to start because yes, he's a stalker, but he's a golden retriever like nice stalker. Like we're not talking about Zaid from Haunting Adeline. That's not a great place to start. But Lights Out is just like, it's definitely for the vibes. It's definitely like, even for the faint of heart, you can totally still read that. Okay, I'm looking at July releases now. Anything here? Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter comes out in July at some point. I also have an arc of that, but I'm also working on getting an arc of Fake Skating by Lynn. I love Lynn Painter, another author I'm manifesting to come on the podcast. She writes the most perfect YA romances that aren't cheesy. They the way she brings in these pop culture, like New Girl and Gilmore Girls and Office references. She does it in such a brilliant way where I'm not getting secondhand embarrassment from the book, because some books try too hard to be too in line with Gen Z, and Lynn Painter must have a Gen Z expert on site who's asking is this good to put in, because in her Betting on You, she had so many good New Girl references that weren't over the top. Anyways, it just I love her. So Made for Each Other is not YA though. That is new adult, I'm pretty sure. So that comes out in July as well. That's going to be added to the list. Overruled by Lana Ferguson, also coming out in July of 2025. So I love Lana Ferguson so much. Lana Ferguson, I'm going to say she's an auto read author. Maybe I won't immediately buy the book when it comes out, but what did Lana Ferguson wrote, The Fake Mate, which is kind of a cheesy romantic-y rom-com, but for the vibes. I had so much fun with that book. The Nanny is also good. It's about a nanny, similar to why am I blanking on the Heartless by Elsie Silver. Overruled by Lana Ferguson comes out in July of 2025, so next month. This is a lawyer romance, if I'm not mistaken. If I don't already have an arc, immediately after this episode, I am going to go and try and find one. Oh, actually, okay, moving on. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy is a fantasy release that's coming out in July. I started this last week. It was one of my most anticipated reads. I had heard really good. I had heard that it was going to be good. I'm 100 pages in and I'm really not loving it, guys. I am so, I don't want to, I am a bit disappointed by it. And I don't know if it's because the bar for romantasy books is just so high these days, but I am so confused about this book right now. When there is like a pronunciation guide at the beginning of a book and it's like 3 pages, I'm not going to remember how to pronounce. Unfortunately, when I'm reading fantasy and I don't know the word, I'm going to be like, when it's being read, like, oh, and then she, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not even trying to sound them out in my brain. So when there's a really long pronunciation guide, I feel bad that I'm not doing it, but I can't memorize the words quick enough and then going back to read it. So this one is just like not doing it for me. And it's like written on this, like the irresistible urge to not fall for your enemy, this like enemies to lovers thing. I'm not really getting the enemies to lovers vibe. I'm just getting like 2 people who are chilling out together, truthfully. I'm not getting enemies and I'm not getting lovers. And they reference each other by their last names and I don't know how to pronounce their last names. And it's just like, I put it on my story asking to see if anyone else was currently reading it. And I got a couple replies of people saying like it gets slightly better in the second half, but not totally. And then there's, of course, a massive cliffhanger at the end. So anyways, do with that what you will. And I will update once I am done that. Any other releases? Oh, The Art of Vanishing by Morgann is actually like a friend of mine. We met in New York a couple years ago and like have stayed in touch since. And then I recently just saw her again a couple months ago. That one is historical fiction and has a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. I was sent a copy of that by her, I think. I'm super excited to read that one. I don't know the premise of it off the top of my head right now, but I remember like her passionately talking about it, and I love when an author is just like so in love with their book. It makes me want to be so in love with the book as well. And that's pretty much it for my summer romance list. I mean, the summer is going to be like a Taylor Jenkins Reid summer. It's going to be, I'm going to read Cara Bastone's other book, Ready or Not. We can add that to the list. I like thought about rereading the Summer I Turned Pretty series, which could be fun because the show is coming out soon. I'm also obsessed with We Were Liars. I am almost done the season now, and I forced my mom to start episode 1 last night, and now she's obsessed. I always go off topic. Yeah, I would say that's like those are my summer reading lists. It's going to be a reading and rotting summer is what I'm planning on doing. It's going to be a reading and rotting summer and also strategizing for season 2 of the podcast, which I'm kind of sad that this is the last episode. I really, really loved doing it. And this was definitely like a push outside my comfort zone to sit in front of cameras and talk, especially like by myself for up to an hour. Like it was not something that I could ever see myself doing a year ago. But I think it's like changed who I am as a person. Like I'm less like, I don't know, scared to jump into things because I'm like, I sit and talk to myself for an hour every week sometimes. And I'm very grateful to have the platform and the opportunity to have a podcast like this. And I'm very grateful for all the authors and the guests who come on to chat, and everyone else who has helped make this podcast a thing. And I don't even know how to end this episode because it's kind of sad that I won't be here for another 2 months-ish. But this is it. I hope everyone has an incredible reading summer. We're still going to post on socials. We're not really going anywhere, but the next episode will probably be live in early September, I think. So I won't see you guys next Thursday. I will see you in September, but thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you guys in a couple months. Yay! Okay. That's a wrap.